Is how you should manage your money really changing? How is it different from generation to generation? Should boomers be managing their money more differently than millennials or Gen Zs? Today we are reacting to an Article 26 money hacks from millennials. If you're new here, I'm Lena Brown. On this channel, we learn about money together. You'll find money hacks, tricks to save you money and to grow your income. If that interests you, please hit that subscribe button. Number one is to work on building your credit score as early as possible. It's so much easier to get credit when you already have a positive credit history. I totally agree with this. It's really awkward when you are moving out for the first time and you are applying to rent an apartment and they're like, what's your credit score? And you're like, I don't have one. That is not necessarily something in your favor. So if you could get some credit card and put your phone bill on it and pay it off each month so you can show that you are a responsible credit holder, that can really help you out if you want to rent, if you want to buy a house, you want to get a business loan. A good credit score is imperative to build. If you have a great credit history, people will be knocking down your door to give you a credit card. But if you have nothing, people will look at you and be like, maybe not. And that can close some doors for you and make things a lot more difficult. Number two, some employers offer tuition reimbursement as a benefit or will help you pay off student loans. Take advantage of these benefits to cut your student debt. 100%. College is really expensive, and anything you can do to mitigate that at the front end or the back end is so valuable. My friend just finished her bachelor's degree and she got it for free because she was working at Walmart, and they have some sort of program there that will pay your tuition. So don't ignore those programs. Look for those programs and ask your employer, is there any student loan reimbursement options? If there's a place that you could get your college paid for by working for them for a certain amount of time, it could totally be worth it. Number three is if the interest rate on your savings account is lower than the rate of inflation, which trust me, it most likely is, your savings will be worth less over time. Investing can give you a chance to beat inflation and come out ahead. This one is great because if you aren't investing, you are getting behind. I do believe in having an emergency fund, which is in your bank account. So some liquid cash that you could use if something went sour. But if you aren't investing, you are losing money. So inflation is out of control, as you know. So if inflation is at 8%, that means your money is losing 8% every single year, which is insane. And if your bank account is giving you 0.5%, that means you're losing 7.5% of the value of your money each year, which is horrid. So invest your money. Yes, still having a liquid cash emergency fund in your bank account, but invest or you're getting behind. Number four, sometimes money can feel a little abstract. Putting the cost of an item into more practical terms can help you decide if it's something you really want to spend cash on. Again, this one is brilliant. How many hours of work would it take you to pay for that item? So basically, what kind of time are you trading for that item? If you are buying a $100 pair of shoes and you make $20 an hour take home pay, I'm assuming that that's after your taxes have been paid and all that stuff. That means that it took you 5 hours of work to afford those shoes. And that makes you think wait a minute, I worked an entire day and all I got was a pair of shoes. And maybe that is worth it to you and maybe it's not. So evaluating in what do I have to do to get this item? How much time of my life is being sucked away for that pair of shoes? Number five, get educated about personal finance, even the things you think you understand. The financial system is so complicated and full of tricky little nuances. You don't want to have to learn all your money lessons the hard way. That's what this channel is all about, financial education, because I don't want you to be blindsided by money issues. And it's so hard to learn money lessons the hard way because it can take you years to get away from that money struggle. Nowadays, there's so much free information on YouTube. Books are not that expensive, so I think this is definitely true. I don't want you to be scared about money. This isn't like the boogeyman in the closet. We don't want to be intimidated about it. We just want to learn about it and be thinking rationally about it. I don't want to put any fear in money, but we do want to be thinking about it and discovering things about how the financial system works. Number 6 is, this might seem old school, but it's actually a great idea to balance your checkbook yourself. So I don't actually know how to officially balance a checkbook. This might be a skill that I need to know, but we do keep track of all our money with our budget. And this is just like, you know what's happening with your money, where it's going, what job it's doing. And I guess a way to do that could be to balance your checkbook, but also you could be looking at your bank statements, watching out for rogue charges, and budgeting every dollar you get. So I feel like that's kind of the same thing, but I don't officially know how to balance your checkbook. I have this picture of, the grandma at the grocery store, and she just wrote the check for her groceries, and then she's like doing the little thing at the top with all the little boxes and stuff to balance her checkbook. Number 7 is always, always, always negotiate your starting salary. All your future raises will be based on this number, so don't just accept whatever you're offered. This is kind of a hard one, and it's something I don't have a lot of experience with. I know there's lots of people that have lots of tips and tricks about negotiating. I'll see if I can leave some of those in the description box there. But I've worked for nonprofits for minimum wage, and I've also set my own rates as a music teacher. But this is not something that's really come up for me, and negotiating makes me feel super uncomfortable. Number 8 is, if your employer's offer to match your 401k contributions, it can really pay off to take advantage if you can. So there's definitely lots of opinions about whether or not 401ks are a good idea, and I think it really depends on what kind of benefits your employer is offering. So look into your 401k, see if it would make sense for you to do that. And if you aren't taking advantage of the free money, especially if you have like 100% match from your employer, it's just free money that you're just leaving on the table. Number 9 is, unlike when your boomer parents were starting their careers, it doesn't make sense to be unwaveringly loyal to a company anymore. Instead, look for the role that will pay you the most and offer the best benefits. I'd like to add that look for the role that pays you the best, has the best benefits, and has a good working environment. If you hate your job, you hate the people you work with, and you hate your boss, your life is going to be pretty miserable. So take that into consideration. It's not all about money. I would take a huge pay cut to work somewhere where I felt valued and respected and cared about, even if the money or the benefits were not as good. So consider it as a whole picture. But if you're at a place where you are not valued or respected and the pay is crappy, it might be time to move jobs. And your 401k can move and follow you wherever you go. And if you have Roth IRAs, that's totally independent of where you are working. Because in the past, there was like those pensions. So you work 25 years here and then you get this awesome pension. But that's not a thing anymore. So in some ways, they're right, but definitely factor in that lifestyle, that environment that you're going to work in as part of your where should I work equation. Number 10 is asking for a higher credit limit can help you boost your credit score as long as you keep your credit use low and make payments on time. We do this all the time. My husband is obsessed with this. Like every 6 months, I don't know if he calls the credit card company or emails them or something and asks them to raise our credit. And most of the time they say yes. And so we have some incredibly high limits on our credit cards, and that brings our credit utilization down, even if we spent a lot of money on our credit card, which looks great on our credit score, and our credit scores are fantastic and our credit limit is quite high. We could buy a large item without blinking if we wanted to. But that wouldn't be a good idea if we didn't have the money in the bank to pay for it, because we want to pay that off right away, because that could ding our credit. Number 11 is if your job doesn't value you, it might not be a great place for you to grow in your career. Look for a place that fosters your growth and will help you get to where you want to be. I kind of touched on this before, that it's not just about money and benefits. If they don't respect you or care about you or think you are an asset to be developed, it might not be the place for you. If they're always talking about numbers and how much money you're making them or not making them, and they don't want to send you for training or develop you in any way, that might not be the best place. Number 12 is seek out personal finance books and podcasts from a millennial or Gen Z point of view. They're much more likely to be in tune with your actual financial situation. I agree with this a little bit, and I also disagree. I want to get both perspectives. One money book that I really found a lot of value in was The Richest Man in Babylon, and this is a really old book. So I think some general principles can definitely be learned from books and podcasts of a different older generation. But if you're looking for the best bank account for today, don't look at something from 100 years ago because that will be totally irrelevant. Isn't there that quote, if you don't know about history, you're doomed to repeat it? So if we don't learn from the mistakes and the wins of the past, we're just going to do the same thing again. So learn from both people older than you, younger than you, and your own age. Number 13 is if your bank is charging you all kinds of fees, look for one that won't. Credit unions and online banks both tend to charge less fees for holding onto your cash. This is so true. We actually have two banks. We have a more traditional bank, and then we have a credit union. In the traditional bank, it's like we've been there forever, but they're still charging us fees when we have one little mess up. And I'm like, what? So definitely look around for a bank, pay attention to the fees, and try to find one that really matches your needs. And we also like things that are local, so like the ATM is easy to use, even though I know that some of the online banks have no fees, or they'll reimburse your fees for using an ATM that's local. Number 14 is even if you don't meet every single requirement, you should still apply for that exciting job. You can still be a great candidate if you have a good chunk of the qualifications they're looking for. Experience can be really hard to get in your field, and if you're right out of college and they're like, we want 10 years of experience and all this other stuff, and you're like, still apply, show up, and show that you want to learn, you want to grow, and you really could still get the job even though you don't meet all the requirements, because requirements are just kind of like a wish list of things they wish you would be like, but they've got to go with the best candidate, and you really could be the best candidate because you have a growth mindset and you are working towards getting better every day. Number 15 is if you don't mind waiting to go to college, you might be able to get a better financial aid package when you're 24 and can claim yourself as independent on your FAFSA. Plus, not everyone is ready to jump straight from high school into college. We kind of did this on accident because my husband and I got married really young. I was 20 and I was just starting at my four-year university. But when you get married, that also kicks you off your parents' FAFSA. And we were so poor when we were first married that we got lots of financial aid, great deals, lots of grants, lots of things. And I didn't even know how awesome this was. And we ended up with barely any student loan because of this. So this is something to really think about. And I'm not encouraging you to just go out and get married for the FAFSA benefits, because that's a bad idea if you don't really want to get married. But I didn't know that you could claim yourself when you're 24. And if you're poor at 24, then you could do the same sort of thing. Because even if you're waiting till you're 24 to go to a four-year university, that could save you, 10 years of paying off your student loans. Would that be worth it? Absolutely. And just like they were saying, when you're right out of high school, you may not know what you really want to do with your life, and college is the most expensive place to figure out what you want to do with your life. Number 16 is treat your credit card like a debit card as much as possible. When you pay it off in full every month, it helps you build your credit score and you can rack up some pretty sweet benefits too. Hello, travel points and cashback. I've got a whole video about my favorite credit card that we got over $600 back on this year. It's the Citi Costco card. Check out that video if you are interested in that. But this is so true. Build your credit score. Be responsible with your credit card because credit card cards can be a lot of trouble if you aren't careful. But if you are careful, they can be awesome. 17. Contrary to popular belief, community college can be a really positive experience. You can get your general ed classes out of the way for so much cheaper, and class sizes are likely much smaller than in a university lecture hall. I actually went to community college. I did it as a Running Start student, so I actually got to go to college for free and get my associate's degree for free. So my whole college experience ended up being pretty inexpensive because I went to a community college on Running Start, got my associates, and then when I got to the four-year university, I didn't have to do any general ed. It was awesome. I don't know if this is kosher to talk about, but often the classes at a community college are slightly easier. So you can get those gen eds that are not your passion out of the way at not such a high rigorous level. And then when you go to the four-year university and you're specializing in the thing that you're interested in, you're getting that high quality, best class possible experience. But those gen eds didn't have to be super hard. 18, dividing your paychecks into multiple accounts might sound complicated, but it can actually be a pretty seamless budgeting method. I don't know about this one. If it works for you, great. It's not something that I'm interested in doing. It's just too complicated. I know that there are some people that are making videos about like how we have 7 bank accounts and that just like makes our life so wonderful. And I'm like, yeah, that's just too much to keep track of. I'm good with my paper budget. So I think this really depends on the person, and budgeting should be personal. If you use an app and that works for you, great. If you have the million bank accounts, great. If you use a paper budget, great. Whatever works for you. 19, avoid auto debt as much as possible can really help you save towards other big life goals. There are two sides to this coin because I was totally in this camp, like buy the cheapest car you can and drive it until it dies. But I am married to an auto technician and he can always fix our cars very inexpensively. But if you are not married to an auto technician, and I would pretty much guess that most people are not, fixing your car, figuring out what's wrong with it, and finding a reliable mechanic can be so hard, time-consuming, and expensive. You probably don't need the $50,000 car. Maybe you could get the $20,000 car or the $12,000 car. Maybe you could buy a service contract to go with it to give you a little bit of peace of mind. I think this really depends. Don't buy your car for the point of being flashy, but perhaps the reliableness and the warranty or the service contract is really important to you because you want a reliable car and you want to know that it's in tip-top shape, and you can't deal with every other month something going wrong and then your car doesn't work and then you can't get to work and blah 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 blah. So don't buy a flashy car because it's pretty. The cheaper ones will still get you from A to B just fine. But what kind of maintenance you want to be involved in should probably be factored into your car buying decision. 20. It can be really hard to say no to your friends, but resisting financial peer pressure can really pay off. Yes, be the person making your own financial decisions, not based off what your friends are doing or the vacations that they're going on. You need to make those decisions for yourself because in the end, you're going to be stuck with the consequences of those decisions. So it can really help to be around people that don't test your financial boundaries. So find like-minded people or people that are okay with you not spending money. So that you can feel supported in your goals, or maybe you're just totally gung-ho and like, I'm going to stand up to these people. I'm not going to spend any money, but I'm still going to spend all that time with them. 21, it is okay and honestly necessary to set boundaries with work and prioritize your life and loved ones. I'm a bit of a workaholic, so this is definitely hard for me, but I'm trying to really take this to heart. that you're not going to get the time back with your little kids. You're not going to get the time back with your parents or your siblings or your husband. If we spend all our time working or working on work goals, we can miss out on a lot of our life. And I don't want to look back in 50 years and be like, oh, I missed out on so many things because I was making money, I was being clever, whatever I was doing. 22, depending on your industry, you may find there's a lot less stigma attached to job hopping these days. Plus, your salary will grow much faster if you change jobs every few years. I think this just goes back to the earlier one. You're looking for a place that pays you well, you're looking for good benefits, but you're also looking for that respect, that growth, all those factors mixed in. And if you find a really great job, sure, maybe if you moved more often, you could get a bump in your salary, but maybe it's not worth it. So just think about that before leaving a great job. And the grass is not always greener on the other side. 23, don't be shy about asking for a raise, but it's also important to understand the processes around raises and promotions at your company. Sometimes you might fare better by looking for new opportunities. Don't get stuck somewhere because that's where you are. Be ready to try something new. I know sometimes the new people coming in could come in at a higher rate than someone who's been there for years because they've been getting their 50-cent raise a year or something. And that means they haven't been brought up to the level of how much they're paying the new people because they're trying to lure the new people with the great pay, but then the old people are still stuck at this low rate. So be on the lookout for that and be ready to move if necessary. 24, ask for help filling out your FAFSA if you're unsure about it. Don't let the FAFSA scare you and keep you from doing the educational goals that you have. Fill it out, get help, watch YouTube videos. That's how I learn everything. You can figure it out. I just don't want that to stop you from getting the education that you really want. 25, a cash advance from your credit card might seem like a good idea, but the fees and the higher interest will really cost you. It's generally best to only take this option in a true emergency. You can get in so much trouble with credit cards. This sounds like a horrid idea. I mean, carrying any sort of balance on your credit card can get you in big, deep water. Like your credit card interest rate could be like 14, 20%, and that's atrocious. So do your best to stay out of credit card debt, whatever it takes. And number 26, the last one is, and finally, don't sign that lease, credit card agreement, mortgage, etc. until you're absolutely 1000% sure you understand it. This is a tricky one because these kinds of agreements can be really long. When we signed the 60 pages to buy our first house, we did not read all the fine print. But I am also not sorry that we did it. So leases are definitely normally shorter and you can often get them in advance before you sign them. So you have plenty of relaxed time to sit down and read it. And I would totally read your lease or any contracts that you can. But if you're signing for your first house, there's 60 places they want your signature and the notary is trying to get out of there in half an hour. You're going to feel a lot of pressure and it's not going to be like, can I take this home and read this for the next year to try to understand all the legal jargon in this? I'm not sure that's totally realistic. Do what you can, do what due diligence you can. Try to understand the overall concepts of things. Look for the main headings, and if you have questions, ask those, like what does this mean in general? Or if you know you're really into research, you love to read the entire thing. And that's it for the list. Let us know down in the comments which one of these millennial money hacks do you agree with and which ones do you think just forget it. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.